lovely people, and welcome to Messages from the Heart, where we can take some time out from the constant external noise and just take a moment to focus inward and listen to the quiet and ever-present voice of our heart. So the message for today is selflessness or selfless action. But before I get into that, I would just like to send lots of love and peace and joy to people that are not doing so well in the world today. I know that a big part of Australia is in severe lockdown at the moment, and they have been for quite a while, and I know that this is the case in lots of other parts of the world as well. So sending you big love, lots of hugs, and stay strong, stay calm, stay peaceful. Okay, so selflessness and selfless action. So this came up this past week in a session I was doing with a client, and it brought to my mind the thing that often, a lot of the times, we say things without really knowing what we're saying. We sort of think we know what we're saying, but it's a thing. If it's something that we say often, we can say it without thinking and therefore not be really aware of what it is that we're saying. And I think selflessness and selfless action is one of those things. So I'd just like to share my perspective on that. So I realise that there can be no such thing as selflessness or selfless action. When we say those words, I think for a lot of us it is a sort of a program from childhood that we need to put ourselves, particularly women. I mean, I know like some men too, but particularly women, we need to put ourselves last or not put ourselves first or put other people before us and do things for other people at the expense of ourselves constantly over and over. And I think mothers can fall into that trap quite a lot. And that then becomes like quite a noble thing that we do. We you know, like, and it reinforces, I think, within us the need. It's not a real need, it's a perceived need that I think came about from childhood conditioning, that we are a good person, we are a good mother, we are a good friend, we are a good woman, we are a good girl, so to speak. And I know that males go through other stuff in this vein, but for now we're just speaking about this selflessness. So, as I said, I think that's where this thing of us seeing it as a good thing, that if we're selfless action, if we're doing selfless action, and if we're being selfless. So getting back to what I was saying before, there really, to my mind, can be no selfless action. There can be no action without the self. Nothing can actually happen without the self. And this brings us to unpacking a little bit, what do we mean by the self? So this can go in many different directions, and there are many components to the self, or there can be. So we may see the self as we are a mother, we are a wife, we are a sister, we are a friend, we are a husband, we are a manager in a workplace, we are a doctor. We can see that as, we can identify with that as being who we are, and within those roles we do a lot of caring for other people. We can see that as us doing selfless action. And nothing wrong with that. There's no judgment around that, nothing wrong with that. I'm just trying to bring, lately I've just realised it's so important to bring clarity to our thinking and to our awarenesses, because unless we do that, unless we start to question a few things, we are not living in truth, but we think that we are. And it's not until we start to question things that we then go a bit deeper and start to unpack certain things. So those things that I said before are not actually who we are. They are the roles that we do. And so getting back to what actually do we mean by the self. So, and you get my drift when I talked about all those roles, and often we can identify that with, like we are a man, we are a woman, we are a child. We can identify those labels as being who we are. But I know, and I know that a lot of us know, it's just about bringing to our awareness that if we strip away all of those things, then what are we? We're not nothing, are we? If we strip away all of those things, say that if we lost our job, and I don't mean to minimize this because I know this is a terrible thing that's happening at the moment and a very big hardship for some. But let's imagine that, say we lost our job, we lost our friends, a whole lot of stuff happened, and all of those things were stripped away from us. And then who are we now? And I know that we all know we're not nothing. We're not nothing when all of those things are taken away. So who are we? So what are we left with when all of those things are taken away? So we're left with our thoughts, we're left with our feelings. And then we can go further and think, well, are we our thoughts? Are we our feelings? Well, we know we're not our thoughts, because we know that we can change our thoughts, we can control our thoughts. So there's got to be something behind that that's doing the changing and the controlling. So we know that we're not our thoughts. Are we our feelings? Well, we know that we're not our feelings as well, because we can change those too. We can change those by just stepping outside the door and going from feeling sad and depressed to feeling a bit more lighthearted, just as quickly as that. And just by changing our thoughts, we can change our feelings. So we know that we're not that as well. So who are we? And that is the $1 million question. And there's a meditation that I do. I haven't done for a little while in my workshops, but it was a big part of my retreats. This meditation, like, who am I? Just sitting and asking the question, who am I? And it's a good, I would really highly recommend it, that if you could find, like, when you are in meditation, or just organize a quiet time for yourself, and just closing your eyes and just asking the question, who am I? And then whenever an answer comes up, because you may get the answer like, I am a father, I am a mother, I'm a man, I'm a woman, all of that, acknowledge that, and then keep asking the question, who am I? And then when the next answer comes, acknowledge that, and then ask the question once again, and who am I? And let's just keep asking that question, who am I, until we come to the deeper aspect of who, and I don't want to generalize, because I know not everybody thinks the same, believes the same, but I believe that we are an eternal being of love. We are a spark of the divine, and I believe that our soul expresses through our heart and through our feelings, also through our mind. But basically, I believe that our soul majorly expresses itself through our heart and through our feelings. Though feelings being our GPS system, like letting us know, are we on the right track or are we not? So just lost my train of thought. I was going to say something very relevant right then and there. Yes, about our soul expressing itself through our heart. Okay, it's gone. Oh no, it's come back. Coming from the understanding that we know that we're not just a physical being. We know that we're not just, most of us at least know that we're not just a physical being. That we are actually a spiritual being, and whatever that word spiritual means to you, it can just mean consciousness, because we are consciousness also. It's just a word. We put language and words onto things just to identify things. But coming from the perspective that we are either a consciousness or a spiritual being having a physical experience, so living through this physicality. And that is what I believe, and that is why in my deepest heart of hearts, I know it's a knowing within my body. So coming back to the selflessness and selfless action, looking at it from that perspective, we can see that there can be no action without the self. So I believe that language is power. And it's important for us to think about the words we use and how we use those words, whether that's in an empowering way, whether that's in an unaware way. Again, there's no right or wrong about it. It's just a part of, I believe, the world is shifting. Part of this huge global shift that's been happening with the pandemic and with everything else that's come from that is the importance of truth. Because as we can see, a lot of untruths have been uncovered. A lot of things that we thought were so are not so. And so if we do not live in truth as much as possible, then we are not going forward in truth. We are still going forward in illusion. I guess, yeah, everything's an illusion, you could say. But let's say like this physical illusion. We're going forth in untruth. And that's what we were doing before. And I think it's really important to go forward into a new way, to examine our thinking, to examine what we do. And we don't have to do like massive things like move mountains. It's just about looking at our own thoughts and the words that we use. And as we make these small changes within ourselves, those the vibration, the energy and the frequency of all of that and the effect of all of that goes through to the people in our world. And then it goes forth from the people in their world, and it's like creates this ripple effect. So let's going back to selflessness. What could we say instead? I don't know. We could say we are self-full. And as we are full of self and coming from the truth of that, that is what we then bring to others. Because we cannot give what we don't have. We cannot pour from an empty cup. So thinking that we're being selfless, it's like we're emptying ourselves of who we are, of our energy. And that's not helpful to anyone. So it's really important to, I believe, incorporate this into a self-care attitude that we have first in taking care of ourselves. So perhaps we could say we are doing self-full action. Or, you know, we could use kindness, loving kindness, that kind of thing. But having the awareness that we need to take care of ourselves first, not empty ourselves out to everyone and then have nothing, because then what we are coming from is nothing. Not so much nothing as in the literal sense of the word, but we are depleting ourselves. And then it's that depletion that we then give to others, if that makes sense. Because we can only give what we have and what we are. And we cannot give what we don't have. Okay, so I hope I haven't rambled on too much, and I hope that this has made sense for you and that it has been helpful. And if you like this video, you think it could be helpful to others, please like and share. Because the more that we can get the message out about coming from a place of truth within our own personal self, just with the words we use and with the thoughts that we think, the better that's going to be for all of us as we move forward into this newness and to this new place of new truth for us all. Okay, so as always, let's love ourselves enough to do this. Ciao for now, and much love.